Welcome to the ultimate guide to worship tech. In this three-part training, you will learn how to dramatically enhance your church's use of technology without needing a huge budget or a massive team.
There's nobody operating that computer up there. Look, nobody in the tech booth, right?
You're going to learn about the best gear for audio, video, lighting, and automation so you can achieve excellence and eliminate distracting mistakes in worship.
And it's really great because as a worship leader, I can focus on singing and leading the congregation and leading our band instead of stressing out about whether or not the technology is going to be working properly. It all just happens.
We believe all churches, no matter their size, can leverage the power of technology for worship. You don't need an advanced degree or a multi-million-dollar budget. At the end of this three-part training, we hope that you feel inspired and gain clarity on which tools to implement next in your worship ministry. My name is Jake Goslin. I'm the creator of Churchfront, helping you lead gospel-centered and tech-savvy worship. I've compiled a list of all the gear and resources we're gonna cover in this video, and that list is in my worship ministry toolkit linked below. And make sure you visit worshiptechschool.com for in-depth training, community, and support to help you implement these tools. What questions do you have about setting up an automation system or a video and live streaming system at your church? Let us know below in the comments. So far in this series, you've learned about audio, lighting, and video display in worship. In this video, we are gonna cover the last two pieces of your worship tech setup that will dramatically help you eliminate distracting mistakes in worship and capture your services to share with the world. This training will focus on automation and live streaming. So first, let's talk about setting up automation for your worship tech system. Why would you want to do this? Well, here are a couple reasons why automation is so great for worship tech ministries. Reason number one, automation eliminates common mistakes. Let's face it, you've probably experienced the headache of having late or missed lyric slides in worship, or maybe a lighting cue was completely off. These distractions are annoying for both you and the congregation. When you automate those cues using the software and gear I'm about to show you, you'll never have to deal with those mishaps again. Those cues will be 100% right 100% of the time. Reason number two, automation increases your creative capability without needing a huge production team. Imagine being able to design relatively complex lighting cues ahead of time, but not needing to worry about anyone actually running them during the service. We only have 2 tech team members on any given Sunday at our church, but we are still able to be creative with our use of lights because we design them ahead of time and the computer runs them for us during the service, and it runs them perfectly. Here are some of the most common questions I get about automation. Jake, when you automate lyrics and lighting, aren't you eliminating a way for someone to serve on your team? I usually answer this question with both a yes and no. And honestly, this looks different for every church's situation. At our church, we still have one of our tech team members at the computer running slides and lighting. They will oversee ProPresenter during songs because sometimes at the end of songs, my worship team will repeat a song section like a chorus during those more spontaneous moments when we want to flow in worship. And then they can easily just start, jumping around the different slides as we lead them. This person also has to cue slides manually for times in the service like announcements in the sermon. Sadly, I haven't figured out how to automate our pastor's sermon yet so that it always ends on time. So we have to manually run those slides. So no, we don't eliminate a position even though we use automation on our team. I guess technically we have eliminated the need for someone to run lights for us, but the reality is we are a small church with a small tech team, and the position of lighting designer just isn't a high priority, especially when we can pre-design and cue lights during songs with greater precision than a human lighting designer. Automation keeps the number of volunteers who need to serve on our tech team relatively low and decreases the chances of burning them out. I know many churches are in the same predicament as ours. You probably don't have a line of people waiting to sign up for the tech team. Automation automation is the best way to solve this issue. So those are the benefits of implementing automation. I know it sounds intimidating and some are afraid of how it will affect the dynamics of their team, but most of these concerns are blown out of proportion and the benefits of automation far outweigh any downsides. Now, I want to walk you through the software and gear you'll need to build a robust automation system. And remember, you can download our worship ministry toolkit linked below this video to access my complete list of gear with links to everything. So first, the heart of your automation setup will be Ableton Live. Ableton is a software that works on both Mac or PC. The key is you need a laptop to run it. Not only does this software automate lyric and lighting changes in worship, it can also run a click and tracks for your worship band. That ensures the music your band plays stays in sync with any automation cues. Hallelujah! Christ is risen. Let's stand and celebrate this morning. Ableton is the industry standard for running a click and tracks in worship because of the flexibility it allows in a live playback situation. You can easily jump around your arrangement while maintaining the right tempo, and it won't jump to another song section until it completes the current measure that it is on. That's really important for your musicians to be able to follow along. So in Ableton Live, you'll build out your set list of songs, and you don't necessarily need to include full backing tracks if that isn't your preference. The key is making sure your band plays with a click track and guide cues so they stay in time and they know what part of the song is coming up next. And of course, they'll be using in-ear monitors so they can hear the click and cues so the congregation doesn't. Once you've built out your songs and worship set list in Ableton Live, you can start dropping in MIDI cues to trigger slides and backgrounds in software like ProPresenter or lighting cues in software like Lightkey. This is the fun part. You can be so creative with your cues, and you can build some relatively complex lighting or lyric or video cues into your set list with the confidence of knowing that they will be executed perfectly. Now you may be wondering, well, how do I go about getting Ableton Live to send those cues to ProPresenter and Lightkey? If the applications are on the same computer, you can link them with the IAC driver built into your Mac operating system. If the applications are on separate computers, you can link them over a local area network using a network session app on your Mac. But my absolute favorite way to build a MIDI automation network is using iConnectivity MIDI interfaces. With these devices, you can create a zero latency and super reliable MIDI connection. You set it up once and it's done. All you have to do is plug in the interfaces to each computer and it's ready to go. It's pretty amazing what you can do with this setup once a strong infrastructure is built for automation. For example, our tech team members simply click one button in Ableton Live running on the media computer and it will trigger lyric and lighting scenes at the same time. This makes cues between different parts of our service seamless.
All of you here this morning, my name is Jeremy Stevens. I'm the family pastor. We're going to go ahead and dismiss all our kiddos now, so parents...
Plus, we never have missed or late lyric and lighting cues. We never deal with those pesky distractions. Despite all of this automation that we have, since we run it with Ableton Live, we still have the flexibility to flow in between songs in worship. And the best part is that it only takes a member of our team an hour or two per week to prepare all of this.
Good morning, welcome to church.
Automation in worship sounds intimidating, but when you learn the right strategy and you use the right tools, it will be quick to set up, it'll be reliable, and it will be flexible. You'll never go back to manually triggering slides and lights again. And that concludes our overview and setup for automation. And so far in this training, we've covered audio, lighting, video, and automation. But the final major category of worship tech is live streaming or video capture of your worship. At the end of the day, I would be honest and say this is probably the least essential aspect of your worship tech setup, but if you have everything else we've covered in this training series in place, and you're ready to share your worship gatherings beyond your church walls, or you need to record worship gatherings for congregation members who can't make it to church, then that's when you should start building some sort of system for video streaming or capture. I'll start with this caveat. Don't look at mega churches like Elevation in Bethel and think that you'll be able to throw up a couple of cameras in your sanctuary and get the same result. In fact, you should really step back and determine the strategy behind why you want to stream or capture your services, and then set realistic expectations for the production quality you want to achieve. One option is you just could spend a few $100s on a system that does the basic job of capturing video and some decent audio for simple documentation of your service, or maybe just the sermon. Or you could spend tens of thousands of dollars on a complete multicam system with a video switcher and a separate broadcast studio, and that's going to require more people to switch that video as well as to mix that audio. So there's a lot more gear and a lot more people involved. Or maybe you want to find a reasonable solution in between. It's really hard for me to recommend one live streaming setup, but I'll go ahead and share some of my recommended ways of how to get started. First, I'll start with the really easy setup. If you want a single camera setup with the least gear possible, then you should consider a USB camera like this one by PTZ Optics. Then on your computer, you can install software like vMix or the free OBS Studio or Ecamm Live, and then you can link that software to your church's Facebook or YouTube account for streaming. But you'll also need to make sure you send good audio from your mixing console to your streaming software. I'd recommend creating a separate mix bus that can be balanced and mixed for broadcast, and you'll send that audio from your mixer to your computer via an audio interface. Once you have these things set up, you'll be able to get up and running with a simple way to record and or stream your service. Maybe you're looking for a more advanced setup, but it's still easy on the budget, meaning you're not dropping tens of thousands of dollars on it. Then I would check out the PTZ Optics Producer Kit. It comes with everything you need for a multicam streaming setup. It even includes a dedicated computer, the Intel Nuke, so you can have a separate computer in your tech booth dedicated to streaming, which is what I highly recommend doing. And to ensure the computer can handle the processing load, this kit also comes with an external PCIe slot, which does all of the heavy lifting of processing the SDI video feeds from your cameras into something that your video switching software can read. There are multiple ways to build a live streaming setup at your church. You have to decide first what your goals are for capturing and streaming, and second, how many people you need to man this system, and then finally, how much of a budget do you have available to fund this setup. You'll also want to ensure that your church is compliant with copyright law and you secure the right licenses to record, stream, or distribute your worship gatherings. That is how you go about building an automation and streaming setup at your church. As I already mentioned, I highly recommend first building a robust system for sound, lighting, and display before implementing these more advanced strategies and tools. Imagine what your worship services would be like if the sound system was set up properly and the person behind your mixing console knew how to process and mix audio. Imagine what it would be like if you could curate a visual experience with lighting and video that held your congregation's attention on the gospel during the most important hour of the week. Imagine if you never experienced distracting mistakes in worship caused by missed or late lyric or lighting cues. Imagine if you could 10x the creative potential of your worship tech ministry. And finally, imagine if you could do all of this without needing a mega church budget or a 20-person production team. If you implement the tools we've shown you in this series, it will happen. But I know at this point you may feel a little overwhelmed and intimidated by all of this gear and software. You don't know where to begin or how to dive into these tools and set everything up for success. That's why we've created worshiptechschool.com. We've designed this online resource specifically for worship tech teams and leaders. It's packed full of in-depth, step-by-step courses with proven strategies. People are already getting success with these strategies to help you implement the latest technology in your worship ministry. And we didn't create this resource because we think you should implement technology simply for technology's sake. We believe that leveraging technology will allow your team's creativity to flourish and help you curate impactful worship gatherings where the gospel of Jesus Christ is proclaimed clearly and it impacts lives. So that's what we are all about here at Churchfront, and those are the types of teams and tech team leaders we want to work with at Worship Tech School. If that sounds like you and you're interested in joining, then visit worshiptechschool.com or click the link below this video to get started today.